and he's got a little round piece over there with a little bitty hammer, and he's pounding it out like so.
foolish game. Do you ever feel the same? Well, maybe we could change, turn the ship another way. Feel it in the darkness, we're sailing right into those jagged.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live here in Armenia, Colombia. Somebody said, are you really in Colombia or are you making that up? Yeah, I'm making it up. Okay, temperatures. Hell if I know. What are the temperatures? It's about 74. Going to have a high of about 80. I'm going to have a low of about 65. I didn't even look it up, but it's pretty much the same all the time, right? I got to sneeze. It's just right there. Ah. Okay. So let's take a look outside. Now that I know that I can do it, here we go. Come on. Boom. Look at that. Overcast. Should I go up? I didn't see any blue skies, and I'm not seeing it here either. We're just hanging in the cloud. And there's Sebastian's building and my balcony. And how's the traffic today? It's been pretty light. There's the last turnaround as you leave Armenia. Just to the left of it is the boundary between Armenia and Circassia. I live right on the border. And enough of that. Boom. Very cool. All right, let's take a quick look at the chat. I'm not seeing any Rumble chat. I've got locals. Good morning. I've got Sebastian. Hello. Just spent 7 days in Armenia. Already missed it. Yeah, that'll happen. Hugo, buenos dias. How you doing? Mr. Neighbor Ben Lake. Good morning. Matt Ski. Is that podcast, Matt? Nice view. Yeah, I got two balconies, one on the front side of the building, one on the side of the building. All right. Somebody's in Rumble. Send me a chat. That concerns me. And I'm recording this in Rumble, so there shouldn't be any issues. I see it going off to X. Yes, it's in X. It's in locals. It's in YouTube, and supposedly it's in Rumble, but it's been kind of stuck there. So if you're in Rumble, give me a holler. Okay, so today, well, first, as usual, some maintenance items. Audience submissions. I can take audience submissions now. Where is the link? I got a link here I set up. Audience submission. There we go. Boom. And that chat is right in the way, isn't it? Let me move that out of the way. So what this is you can go in anytime this week, and you can do it with your cell phone. And if you go to that link, it will come to a place where you can record. And so it'll be a video recording. You have up to a minute. You can comment. You can ask a question, whatever you want to do. Obviously, keep it clean and respectful. You can be criticizing, and that's no problem. Just keep it respectful. And I get a message where I can review them. And as long as they're appropriate, I can put them up next week. I think it could be pretty interesting to do that. That's a feature here that you don't really see anywhere else, at least being built in like that. So please consider it. So there's a link, and I'm going to take it off the screen, but you can always go back and look at the recording and see what it is. How do I take it off? There, boom. All right. Oh, yeah, the exchange rate, 40.93. Yep, it's up on the screen this week. 40.93. It's been kind of sucky. Went from 45 down to 40. It's been lingering right in this range all week. Got down to I think 40.23, and just kind of bouncing around a little bit. Okay. So audience submission. Number 2, if you want to be a guest on the channel, send me an email. Tell me what you want to talk about, or if you've got a particular topic, or if you just want to join in on our main topic, which usually starts about 20 minutes in. Let me know, and if everything works out fine, I can send you off a link, and you can join up. We can have up to myself and 8 other people. Might get chaotic, but we have that ability. So that's something to think about. Want it as interactive as possible. I don't know why I'm not seeing Rumble at all. From Rumble, we can see chats, but something on your side may be frozen. Not sure why you can't see the chats on Rumble. All right, let's see if I can switch it to Rumble. No, I'm still not seeing it. I've got it on all. It can be on. I can set it to Rumble, Locals, YouTube. The only one I can't set it to is X. There's just something with the interface. So let me say hello. Okay, so there's Locals. It should come up. It should come up in Rumble and in YouTube. Of course, there's always a delay. Locals always is like instant, which is part of Rumble. So I don't know. Okay, let's get on with it. As long as you can see, there's the YouTube one, and Rumble I don't know. So, well, just in case, I don't want to not see your chat. So let me try something here. Bear with me a second. It shouldn't take long. My content. And, oh, there I can see the chat. I'm going to pop it out. It won't go up on the screen, but I will be able to look at it. Okay. Alex, good morning from the windy city of Chicago. And over on Rumble, Juka, greetings from Finland. Thank you. He is sending contributions in every month instead of every week now. B. Nick, who also contributes to the channel. Wendia, how you doing? Rob also contributes to the channel. Good morning from Fort Lauderdale, 66 days. Dan the expat. Gee, Rob, now we're all getting excited. Tommy, good morning to all. And Tommy, I think you're also on YouTube. Mr. Zell, good morning. Out of hot Cali and back in wet and cold Louisiana. Well, between Cali and Louisiana, yeah, I take the Cali. But I'm particular about where. Turtle, good morning. Rob, Turtle, Ola, B. Nick, we're here. Studio Rumble, that's the contribution. Owen, thank you. You do that every week. I appreciate it. Greetings from Tampa Bay, Florida. Planning my next trip to Cordoba in mid-March. Can't wait to be back at the farm. I showed his farm last week. Talked a little bit about what he paid. And we can see that chat since the beginning. Okay, well, I'm glad it's working for you. I will keep it off the screen. Dan should be joining us in about 10 or 15 minutes. So I better get moving. All right. So the bags finally came in. Boom. There we go. I can now have coffee. It's going for sale March 1st. I needed the bags for the mocha to get roasted and bagged up. So I want to give them a little bit of time. That's only next Saturday. So tomorrow I'm running the bags over, and so they can roast it. Now somebody said, well, you had that pink bourbon in December. Doesn't it go bad? Well, yes and no. If you seal roasted beans, it's good for a year. Green beans are good for a long time, as long as moisture content. Well, we don't need to get into that. Ground coffee, even sealed, will expire pretty quick. You might get a month out of it. But these have been in a sealed bag, and I got these in. So yesterday I broke that sealed bag and I put them in here, which I have a machine that also seals. It seals these. Plus, it's got a one-way vent, so I can beans will gas, and so as it gases, it'll come out the vent, but nothing will go back in. So the bag just gets a little bit more and more compact. And on the side of the bag, I've got information depending if it's a tabi or geisha, and on this side, if it's bourbon rosado or if it's mocha being my favorite. And then I put a label on here with the expiration date and which one in particular is in this bag. When they are sold, they're sold 2 bags at a time. They're not sold single. I was wondering, I went on Amazon and I looked up to see how coffee was being sold there, and they were all 2 bags, and I didn't understand that until I actually started having to work out the prices and the shipping and all of that, and it just doesn't make sense to do anything less than 2 bags. You actually would have to charge more, but so it's 2 bags. I have a video that will be coming out this Wednesday, now that I have the bags, that will be explaining the kinds of coffee that I'm selling, because I've had people say, do you have free samples? There's not enough of this coffee to do that. And the people that have looked on the website said, why is it so expensive? Well, first of all, it is not. But this is not just regular coffee. I decided I wasn't really interested, at least at this point, into just selling Colombian coffee in general. It's fantastic. I love it. However, my interest was in the exotics and the specialty coffees. So the only thing that I have to sell are specialty coffees. And I will explain in the video, but there's very small amounts that are grown for very good particular reasons. But these are expensive coffees. They're the only ones I'm selling. And price-wise, I've checked, of course. And first, I based my price on what I needed to get based on all the expenses involved. And then after that, I went and looked to see what this kind of coffee is selling for. And I was either on par or under what these types of coffees, no matter if it's coming out of Panama or Costa Rica or Colombia, they're priced right. If you're looking for an $8 bag of just generic coffee, this isn't it. I just really didn't have interest in that. This coffee interests me, and I'm only doing something that I'm interested in. Okay, this is not a big. I don't have any pictures of taking over the coffee world or having a big production process and let me see if I get more and more sales. My interest is in these particular coffees, making some videos about what I see in them and having them available for you so that you can get them there, because you can't find these in the United States. This particular coffee does not exist in the United States. I have the information about the farm, why it's particular. I'll be doing videos about it. So if you ever want to actually try this coffee, this is how you do it. That's what my interest was in. So it's a very narrow scope, very, very particular. Enough of that. So come March 1st, it will be up for sale. It's on the internet right now, but I don't have the mocha listed there yet. Dan, it might be a challenge to put folders in Maxwell House out of business. Yeah, Juka, my friend has sent me coffee from Colombia. So how about your coffee? How much would it cost? can't sell you coffee. I can only sell it currently to the United States. Every single country has its own set of rules, has its own application. I looked into it. I was originally going to start with England, the United States, and Japan, mostly because I'm very familiar with those three countries. And I ended up, look, it's just too much red tape for the scale that I'm going to be doing coffee. In order to make it worth selling to these other countries, I would need to broaden the varieties that I'm doing. There are two other varieties that I may add in, but they're still going to be specialty coffees. They're still going to be rare coffees. These are certified coffees. They're on the back of the bag. We've got the typical Colombian one, but I've also got the origin certification. A bag gets sent off to the Coffee Federation. They run a test on the coffee. They grade it. They verify that it is what I'm saying that it is. So you have to go through that licensing process. There's another one here. Over here is a health certificate that's required pretty much by every country. So I've jumped through all these hoops. You can sell coffee without having all of this. But if you're selling the kind of coffee that I'm selling, claiming to be what it is, I felt it needed to have actual verification. Because there are people out there, particularly within Colombia, selling mocha, for example, that isn't really mocha. They're cheating. And I'm not only have no interest in cheating, but I have no, I want to, if somebody were thinking I'm cheating, yeah, well, just check with the Coffee Federation. I'm registered. I'm actually registered worldwide now, even though we're talking in a given month, I'll be lucky if I'm selling 40 kilos of specialty coffee. We're talking very small amounts. What name are you selling under on Amazon? I'm not on Amazon. I looked on Amazon because so many people are selling on Amazon. I'm selling only on my website. Because I have such small quantities, if I put it on Amazon, I'm reaching a broader audience. I won't be able to fulfill the orders. So most of the people that are going to buy this coffee are you guys or people that are friends of you guys. And, if you're really interested in coffee beyond just your morning cup, if you have interest in looking a little further into it, then this is a kind of a coffee that, you probably will be interested in. I can fulfill that small circle. I get on Amazon, I get 100 orders. I can't fill it. I can't buy enough of the coffee to fill it. Unless I were maybe like a Katura coffee. I could sell thousands of kilos of that coffee, but that's not what I got. The entire crop of mocha, last, 5 months ago, I bought the entire crop and it was, I think it was 20 kilograms, or it might have even been less than that. I've got a crop coming up within a couple of weeks, and then it takes a few weeks because they pick the red cherries, and then they go back a few days later and they pick those red cherries. They go back a few days later, they'll pick those. So I'll have another crop coming up. So that's nice, but I just don't have a lot. Congratulations, Lauren. Look forward to trying it. My friend sent me coffee from Colombia, so how about I read that one. Might be a challenge. Yeah, read that. Where can we find coffee online? Where everything related to me is grandcolumbia.live. Grandcolumbia.live. I will separate it out at some point. And there's also, I bought the domain name Coffee Time Exotics. So Coffee Time Exotics, probably.com, will take you to it, but it's actually at grandcolumbia.live. What name are you selling? Mention that. Well, finally, the fruits of a lot of flavor. Congrats. Not only this has taken how long? 6, 7, 8 months? And Sharik has been, she was going to be my partner. We had to split off. I convinced her to duplicate all the work that we had done here. So in Kauka, she's doing the same thing, except she's not doing exactly, she's just selling coffee in general. She's making money hand over fist. She's doing really good. She's struggling to keep up with her orders. And don't get me, she's selling good coffee, but she, she's young and energetic, and she wants it to be a big coffee company. Kind of the exact opposite. I'm more boutique. I don't want to do a whole lot of work. I just want to present. Why do I love this mocha coffee so much? I want people that are interested in it to be able to try it and see what you think. It was a real eye opener for me. These different coffees, and I just it makes me feel good if somebody else is trying that coffee and experiencing what I got to experience. Now, you can always fly here, although you come here to Quindio, and good chance it's going to be fake because I bought up all the real ones. Okay. Journeys ahead. Good morning. Beautiful bag. Thank you. A friend of mine in Ecuador, I've known her for many years. She designed it. I tried to get it designed here, and the prices were just insane. And so I had her do it, and it was like a third or a quarter of the price. And she did a great job. And she not only did that, but she worked with the coffee bag company, and she put a lot of time into it. So I had to give her more. I don't understand the difference between coffee versus espresso. I am being told it's the same beans. It is the same beans. Espresso is coffee. Coffee is espresso. It's all in the matter of the grind and the preparation. How much water, what type of grind. Like espresso is a fine grind. A pour over is a medium coarse grind. A French press is a medium coarse grind. A mocha pot's a medium grind. The quantity of water, the temperature, and the grind has everything to do with the kind of coffee that you're going to get. There's so much variation. It's a fascinating world. And if you're really curious about it, I talked about this a long time ago. I want to make a series of videos about these particular things, the things that have fascinated me. I want to make videos about it. It's not like, James Hoffman, probably the best coffee videos in the world. I'm not out to duplicate him. I want to talk about my experiences with this stuff. All right, been going on and on about it. It's coffee time. We all love coffee. Ice water. Already had just 1 cup a day. Okay. Mentioned all that. Okay, what's new? I got some news. Well, let's see. Bought a new car. Oh, yeah, I mentioned that. The thing is awesome. I was a little concerned. It's a little Suzuki Vitara. I've been driving that big Ford Edge. And, of course, there's a world of difference. But the Ford Edge is actually based on an F-150 platform. So, it's a little harsh on bumps, but great just going down the highway. More power it's amazing amount of power. It'll climb up a cliff like a mountain goat. So I was a little worried about that with the Suzuki. Well, first of all, gas tank takes half as much to fill it, but it goes more than twice as far on a gallon of gas. It's amazing. I've gotten almost 50 miles to the gallon out of this little thing. And being new, the ride has been great. You got all these speed bumps here. You hit them a little too fast sometimes. It's been great. I'm so impressed. I didn't drive it before. You would think, well, it's a new car. I knew that the format of that car, plus I've driven these before. I've rented them before, back before rentals got out of hand. And so Anyway, enough about that. Just very happy with it. You never know, after you buy something, you go, oh crap, what about this? Yeah, so far I'm really pleased. Um, the the increase in my monthly amount that I have to put out is going to be defrayed by some of the cost of running it. Um, I won't have to buy new axles for it. All that's covered. Anyway, let's get on with news. I got 4 news items. It's where do we go here? First one is here. Quindio, a department without the presence of groups outside the law. They're talking about FARC, ELN, AUC, those kinds of organized formal groups that are basically trying to take over land. And I tell you, when, a couple times they tried to move in and the local populace ratted them out and they got arrested immediately. I think the longest one was that woman who was rounding up underage little criminals, and I think she ended up being about 7 days before they caught her. But usually it's within a day or two. They move in and people recognize it right away. They know their own neighborhoods, so that's pretty cool. A lot of departments can't say that. Okay, second news. I think interesting. It is, where is it? Lorenzo Law is approved to protect private security and surveillance dogs. So dogs that are working dogs that they patrol for, private surveillance, might put a dog on patrol behind a fenced yard or something like that, or walk around them, or, working dogs like that. Well, as you know, in Colombia, dogs are now by law a sentient being. And as such, they've decided that they need labor laws that will also apply to dogs. If you have a security or surveillance dog, it is now mandatory that they go into retirement at 6 years of age. And the retirement requires that they're put up in a nice place, that they're fed and taken care of for the rest of their days. So if you've got security dogs, this is what you, now this has been done without the law, just by general agreement, but they're retiring dogs 8, 9 years, and they would take care of them. Well, now it's codified in the law about not only that they're taken care of, but how they're taken care of, because sentient being. And to tell you how much they love dogs here, the top 10 news stories in Colombia, in the source I was looking at, 4 of them were about dogs. 4 of the 10. It's like that every week. Okay, another dog story. This one kind of made me laugh. I mean, really, do you need to make a law about this? But apparently they felt they do. There's a bill pending criminalizing zoophilia in Colombia, approved in the first debate. It's got to go through a series of debates and then they vote on it. Apparently, there's enough of a problem of dogs being sexually abused that they feel that they need to have a law about it. I don't know enough. I don't get where that's coming from. There really wasn't a lot of background about it. They had a couple stats, like between 2019 and 2024, there were 64 cases of sexual abuse with dogs. I mean, are dogs gonna? I mean, who's gonna report it? I don't know. It's just a little weird for me. Now, if we're in Afghanistan and we're talking about goats, I could understand. All right. What's the next one? Oh, this one hit close to home. Let's see. I did the Lorenzo zoophilia. No. This one. Here we go. Alleged bribery case by an agent is being investigated. This is right here in Quindio. And that cop is a transito cop. And I've talked to you about it, and I've described a couple of the times where they've shook me down. And they're clever about it. Each time they did it, there was a potential fine. I could have been fined and instead pay them. And the amount they were asking, less than the fine. Plus, I could just go on my way. So it's hard not to go along with it. On the other hand, they're so petty that if they weren't taking this money from you, they would never bother you with it. Like I had one where there was one seatbelt in the back that they said wasn't fastened correctly or something like that. I'm not even sure. But it was petty as hell. So this was in Quindio. The cool thing about this is somebody actually videoed this. These shots came from an actual video. And so they actually have proof that they can't wiggle out of, and so they're going to crack down. They're going to make an example out of him and solicit other people like me to turn it in. And I'm glad to see that, at least here in Quindio. It is in Quindio. This isn't a national thing. So if I drive to Risaralda, Paeta, where one of the times I got a shakedown coming back from the airport, said it was Pico y Placa. I was driving on the day I wasn't supposed to be driving, but there are certain roads that you are permitted, such as going from the airport. But anyway, so to me, it's good news. Hits home. I personally can relate to this, and so happy to see it. All right. I think that's all the news. That's all the news. Now we're going to get on with today's topic. Before I do, I want to take a last look at chat. And yeah, okay. I just noticed something else there. Dan wants to join my stream. All right. Well, let me allow him to join my stream. So he'll be coming in. 6 years too young, maybe 7 to 9. Well, it doesn't matter. It's 6 years. That's what they've decided. Let's see. Fruits of the labor. Coffee Time Exotics. Owen, thank you again for the link. Nice car, my friend. Congrats. I'm really pleased with this car. I'm definitely not a coffee person, but I may get some for my wife if she wants to try. Have had Suzuki 6 years, no problems. Welcome to the club. Yeah, they're good vehicles. Years ago, I had a used one. It was a Suzuki Samurai. World of difference. I'm thinking it might have even been a two-stroke, but probably not. But it was this little dinky engine. It didn't go over 50 miles an hour. But you could climb up the side of a building. The thing was amazing. And it was bulletproof. I abused the hell out of this thing because I think I paid like $100 for it. And it was a great vehicle. They're very popular here. That was another reason I settled on that particular brand, because resale here, because of their popularity, is very strong. Dan, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
A good video. He bought himself a new camera, and it's looking pretty good.
I tried to balance the lighting. I don't have those great studio lights like you do.
Yeah, I do. It's pretty set up here, but you need something on the one side of your head. But it actually looks pretty good.
I have another light, but I was getting glare on the glasses, so I ditched it.
So this is what I want to talk about today. It's not a hard and fast idea, but basically traveling anywhere, but traveling to Colombia is exciting. You travel anywhere, you travel to Colombia, it's exciting, it's all new. You travel around with the where's my AI thumbnail girl? rose-colored glasses. Didn't really show up very well in the thumbnail, but you have the rose-colored glasses, and everything's awesome. But then when you move here to live, you go through a sequence, and that's what I want to talk about. You go through a sequence where first you have the rose-colored glasses still on, everything's perfect, but then frustration set in, whether it was through the visa process or you're trying to get something and you don't know where to get it, and you run into that a whole bunch of times because you don't have the place figured out yet. I can get almost anything, but when you first get here, you don't know. You're asking on Facebook, and you're getting abused by idiots, and it's very frustrating. So I want to talk about those things that you go through, but prefacing that, there is a 2-minute clip that it just kind of took my breath away. And this is Colombia. I think I put it up on my Facebook page, and I said something like, there are other reasons that we come to Colombia other than the pretty girls. And so take a look at this, and then we'll start talking about it. Stunningly beautiful. But get your thoughts together. I have to take a quick sidestep because I forgot something, and it's very important. You guys know that I've been pushing the school in Cauca that is such a disaster. Well, I've got an update. It's only about 40 seconds long. They've raised some money and they're out working. They need money for a roof. They still need a whole bunch of things. But take a look at this. Whoop, I got to quit doing that. So I had to get that in. I promised them, and then I forgot about it. Nice video of Colombia. Hope you posted the link. I haven't checked it yet. I put it on Facebook, my personal page. I also put it on Ventures in Grand Colombia Facebook group. Francisco, good morning from Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. You forgot El Pasos? No, mentioned that in the beginning. 4093. And here's a comment on Rumble that pertains to the topic. So I'm going to start with that. Some things are definitely there, and you need to get used to. For example, banks close from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And when they open, the line is 10 plus people deep. Different pace and priority for sure. This is a good example. My bank is Bank Colombia, and I was running into that. It was a nightmare. I tried different times of the day, and so I would go to the bank, and at best a half an hour wait, sometimes much worse. But then I found another branch where I could walk in and get taken care of just like that. There's workarounds to practically everything. And so the branch that you're going to, I get it. It seems like most are like that, but you can find another branch where it's not like that. Everybody goes to the same things generally. And so it worked out great for me. And then I noticed with Davivienda, the same thing. The Davivienda in a couple different locations, it's ridiculous lines, but then there's one on Bolivar where there's almost never a line. And this applies to a lot of different things where you early on when you're living here, after you get past everything's perfect, the frustrations start to come in. But that's because you don't know how to operate yet. You follow me? I mean, Dan, you lived
let's
in
mention it. Yeah, let's mention again.
You lived here in Armenia, and so you had to go through this a few times, all within Colombia.
I lived in Medellin also.
I mentioned that. You were talking over me.
Yeah, sorry. But it's worth mentioning two things about banking. Number one, your usual advice, don't open a bank account unless you need to. And number two, the same thing applies if you go in and try to open an account and they tell you, oh, you can't, you're not a citizen or whatever, just go to a different branch. Because I've recommended that to a number of people, and lo and behold, the second branch opened the account for them. So if at first you don't succeed, just try a different branch.
Yeah, but the question I asked you when you were talking over me, this is simply an example. The bank in particular isn't the point. The point is that when you move to a new place, you have to learn how things work. You have to learn the best way to do something. Now, when you're in the U.S., you take it for granted. But when you come to Colombia, you get that frustration because you think that's how it is. But there's often workarounds. And I mentioned you lived in Medellin, you lived in Ibagué. and now you're in Armenia. You had to go through this a few times, all within Colombia, to figure out best way to operate. See or no?
Yes, and I hate to keep it concentrated on banking, but there's not an ATM within 5 miles of where we live. I mean, well, where we live, but we live in the barrios, and I wondered, since this is mostly a cash society, how do these people function with no available ATMs? And then I realized they all get paid in cash, so they don't need one. But I have to go downtown to get an ATM. There's not one near us.
Okay, well, let me help you with that because you are new to Armenia.
Mm-hmm.
When you lived in the United States, there's a pretty good chance you were maybe 15 to a half an hour away from an ATM there. First of all, Armenia is no longer a cashless society almost everywhere. And 6 years ago, it was the exact opposite. But now almost everywhere, except the small tiendas in the barrio, but almost everywhere will take credit and debit. As a matter of fact, they'll have the little, even the small businesses will have a little Código where if you have a Bank Colombia or Davivienda, you can take a snapshot of your phone and pay out of the app like that. But here's what you do is every so often when you're out, you get enough cash until you feel you needed to get it the next time, just like when you're in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do. We just, in fact, since Bridget is going downtown every day right now, including right now, she's in class. She just snags cash when we need it, but it's something to get used to. Where I lived in the U.S., I was never more than a few minutes drive away from an ATM, but here it's not like that. I think one of the reasons that some expats have difficulty adjusting is that efficiency is not really a value here, and so going to the grocery store or any kind of shopping can be a little frustrating to someone whose whole life has been about efficiency and productivity. And I was thinking about that, and it's a little bit of a chicken versus the egg conundrum, because I've heard expats make the same complaint in the Philippines that service is terrible. Everything takes way too long, even checking out of the supermarket. And I realized that in societies where people don't get paid very much for their time, what's the point of them being efficient with their time? And yet, when employees don't care, then productivity is never going to go up dramatically. So I don't know. Well, I'm not here to solve Colombia's problems. I'm here to enjoy the country.
It's a problem through most of the world. The more you travel, the more countries you go to, the more you see that service is not a thing. Now, I've been away from the U.S. for 10 years plus, but I've been told that in the U.S. service has gone to hell, that it's really bad. But being in business for my whole life, everything was always about service. And you had policies like at Nordstrom's, no matter what they complain about, even if they didn't buy it at Nordstrom's, you still take it back and get, and give the money back. Mm-hmm. Service was over the top. Well, you're not going to find that here. But what you do find is that as you learn the language better, as you learn the customs better, for example, people have little miniature vendettas. So if you go into a place and they perceive that you are rude to them, and by being rude, maybe because you just said, so what's the price of that? Before you said, So how you doing today? How's the family? How da 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 da? Okay, so you skip that and you go right to, so how much is that? Well, that's perceived by some as being a little rude. And if they think you're being a little rude, then the little vendetta thing clicks in. And so what could have been a very simple, pleasant transaction can turn into, why are you giving me a hard time? Why can't I just buy this? Why can't I? And so you learn these things as you go and you start assimilating the culture because it's a cultural thing. And all of a sudden, your life starts getting so much better. Everything starts going smoother. Is it because, well, he was a jerk? Yeah, but from their point of view, you were a jerk. You just didn't get it. You just didn't understand because it was, you go into a place in the US and it's perfectly acceptable. Let's just cut to the chase. How much is it? Here, that's rude. Showing money, talking about money is classless and rude. So people here are flexible and tend to adjust, and everybody's not going to be insulted overtly, but inside they're going to feel that you're rude. Even the nicest, calmest people that don't click into vendetta mode, you're being rude in that society because that's something that's rude in this society, right?
Yeah, I'm reminded of a coffee shop in Medellin that had a sign out front, and it was, I'm not quoting, but it was like this: coffee, 5,000 pesos, buenos dias, and coffee is 4,000 pesos, and buenos dias, ¿cómo estás? And coffee is 3,000 pesos. So you have to greet them and inquire about their well-being before you place your order.
That's a great example because I've seen that before, and it's a constant, gentle reminder of what you need to do. You don't have to, but your life will be better. So I've got a couple comments here. Andromeda, I made a comment earlier. I actually replied to that. It didn't disappear. I'm looking at it. And then I never felt frustration in my 10 years in Colombia. I did indeed have to learn and adapt, but that's the Colombian adventure I've looked for. You come with love, you find love. That's an excellent comment. I never really had any trouble adapting. I've always been comfortable because the thing is, one of the things I learned years ago was the culture of Colombia. So when I returned here, I get it, and sometimes I just don't feel like it. I'm just myself. And if somebody gets their little vendetta, I don't get mad at them over it because, hey, I made that choice. Because sometimes it doesn't really matter. Well, you be upset with me, it's fine. Give me my pack of gum, and I move on. Let's see. You can tell I'm missing it. I'm back in Belgium for now. Yeah, it's there's no place like home. Also, if you're buying something there, like the farm, make sure you agree on a dollar value. This is a great point. If the deal will last a couple of transactions since the value changes daily. And the sharp guy says, move to Miami and you will know if you can live in Colombia. The driving's lying, nothing fast. There's some good points to that. Now, the money thing. Money's a whole big part of this culture. I already mentioned that to show money, to talk about money, it's rude. You'll notice here, you sit down in a restaurant and you eat, and you can sit there and you can talk for 3 hours. Nobody's going to come up and ask you to pay the bill because that's rude. I watched a Life with David video. Somebody sent me a link and I watched it. He was on his way to Manizales, and there was a little coffee segment. That's why it was sent to me. Drove me crazy because even the barista, he made the worst French press in the world coffee. It looked like mud because he didn't grind it. He used an espresso grind in the French. Okay, I'm off topic. Anyway, where was I going with this? I got wrapped up in the coffee.
Life with David.
Yeah. God,
Did he get?
senility is a bad thing. I forget where I was going with it. The dollar value, but I don't remember now on Life with David. So anyway, the value of the dollar, showing the dollar. Man, I hate that. Help me out here.
You were talking about the culture of money in Colombia.
Yeah. I'm stuck on how that applied to the Life with David thing, and I can't remember it.
Well, leading with money in Colombia is almost always a bad idea. Whether you're talking about personal relationships or shopping, whatever you're doing, it's better to let money be kind of a background issue, in my experience.
Yeah, as I said earlier, if you're showing money, it's considered to be crass. It's considered to be rude. The restaurant, you sit in a restaurant for 2 or 3 hours. They won't expect you, to come and collect. Those being fitting into this culture means being polite, and it means being polite in the way that they perceive you being polite. And so all of these things matter. So if you want your life to go smoother, then you want to learn these things and pay attention to them. So when you go to pay your bill at the restaurant, you don't get frustrated because they didn't bring you the check. First of all, you ask for it when you're ready, and you don't pull out a big wad of cash and thumb through it and then pull out the 50 or 100 or whatever it is to pay your lunch. And then they got 20,000 coming back. Oh, I'll keep the change. So people say, well, they're glad to get it. Well, of course, everybody's glad to get money, but nobody's happy about getting money while they're being insulted. And that's an insult. Oh, you poor thing, you need this money. It's like money is considered to be crass. And if you're flashing it around and it's like, oh, here's 20, you've just humiliated them. They'll take it. Everybody likes money, but you're not making a friend. So those things matter. And if it's where you live and you go to that place every day, or you plan on going to that place every day, you don't really need to be alienating. Oh, here comes the gringo that doesn't have any manners.
That brings up another point. Generally, Colombians do not like confrontation, particularly publicly. And this can be, is it frustrating? I'm not sure how to classify it, but if you ask somebody for directions, they will give you directions, whether they know the destination or not. So,
yeah, that is so true. Don't ask for directions, because it's 50-50 whether you're actually going to get directions. I quit asking years ago. There's no point. Google will be better. Yeah, so that's definitely a truth. And let's see, related topic is, there is I find this with almost every Colombian I meet, about accepting blame. First of all, if you say something, you say something critical, you're probably not attacking that person with a suggestion or with criticism. You're probably not attacking that person, but they're going to take it personal and they're going to be offended by it. And so from that point on, they're not going to accept the criticism or whatever suggestion you may have. They're going to take it as a personal attack, and they're going to fight back against it. And they're going to give you 15 reasons why it doesn't have anything to do with them. Accepting blame for something is, I think they would rather march to their death than accept fault. And they're obsessed by it. I come from a culture of, efficiencies. That was my life and my career. Going into a place and determining efficiencies and creating systems. And so in my life, I could have conversations with people about things that weren't going right. And it wasn't about people, it was about the system. We have a problem here. You're
Mhm.
you're doing a bad job, but it's not because of you, it's because of the system. And if we change the system, the same person can do a good job. And people would understand that and accept it. And it's like we're working together to solve this problem. It's not like that here at all. If you say anything along those lines, it's a personal insult to them. And then all the excuses, it's like dealing with this sounds condescending, but there's truth in it. It's like dealing with your child where, it's like, what are you doing? Nothing. And well, how come, you got this frosting all over your face? I don't know. The dog licked me. And they come up with all these excuses to, get around the obvious. And that to me is still frustrating, except when it happens, I recognize it. But that was one of the most difficult things for me to get over. Ben Lake says if my taxi fare is $13.50 after spending 10 or 15 minutes practicing my Spanish with him, I will tip him $15,000 and thank him for the practice time. I meant 13.5. So, $1,000 and a half pesos. Yeah, well, that's perfect. That would be perfectly acceptable because it's presented in such a way as it's an appreciation for something he's done.
Mhm.
It's a pay for service. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you take something that's drastically out of context, well, this happened. There was a guy that was here, and I set him up with a local girl to guide him around to help him with things. They went to lunch. She called back to me later that afternoon when they had a break, and she was away from him for about 15 minutes or so. And the first thing she did was tell me how humiliated and horrified she was. Well, why? What happened? What did he do to you? We're sitting there for lunch, and the lunch was only like 15,000 pesos. And he had a big wad of money, and he takes out a 20, gives it to the girl, and he made some comment about, I don't know. I don't remember now, but it was very condescending. And she wanted to disappear into the floor. She was so humiliated that she was sitting there with somebody that would be that classless and rude and crude. And he was all proud of himself, like, well, I got all the money in the world and these poor people, and it's like, well, I'm helping him out with this 20,000. I'm big man on campus and, feeling all good about himself, not even realizing that everybody within shot of this transaction was horrified. It's, had he known, probably wouldn't have done what he did. He thought he was doing something nice, I suppose. Her description of it was probably a little over the top from maybe what really happened. You take these things with a grain of salt, but the basic gist of it, you sit there and you got a 15,000 lunch and you're throwing a 20,000 bill after it. Any chance of having respect from those people went out the window. Hugo says, I'm planning to relocate with my family to Manizales in July, but I'm concerned about the political and social situation in Colombia right now. Should I wait until the elections? Thank fuera, Petro. Yeah. Well, you don't see me moving because they have a good system of government. It's one of the oldest republics in the world, unbroken, and they've had a tough history. They went through a 20-year period where assassinations was far more common than the vote.
Lauren and I have lived here for 7 years, and neither of us has been impacted one iota by politics in Colombia.
Right, because it's really is minimal. And And when he came in, he tried to nationalize the utilities, and he wasn't able to do it. There's a few things he's managed to get through. He's going to lose, and it will get reversed. But the effects have been almost nil. Now, I do understand that some of the things that have taken place since COVID has had a lot of effects on the visa process. But on the other hand, I also know from talking to people in different countries that I know, visa process throughout the world apparently got turned on its head and got difficult everywhere. So, oh my God, if you hope for a relationship with a Colombian gal, know that accepting being wrong will be a necessary hurdle. Yeah, well, there's that, I guess. But that's one of the reasons I remain single here. I meet people. I'll go out once in a while, and it's one of those. It's not you, it's me. Look, I recognize I'm an asshole, but I'm not going to change. I'm still going to be an asshole, And so I can see that it grates on you. There's no future here. It's just not going to last. Currently I'm seeing somebody that gets me and doesn't take offense, which is absolutely amazing here. That's a very difficult thing, but to me, I've done all the changing I'm going to do in my life. It's like the old dog and new tricks kind of thing. I'm 71 going on 72, and I don't feel I need to, and I'm not going to. It's gotten me this far in life. On the other hand, I recognize my faults and flaws, and it's like, yeah, I wish I was better at that, but you know what? I'm not.
Well, I found a girl who has accepted me the way I am for the last 5 years. So,
well, except for the moto thing.
Well, yeah, we still have a crisis coming up.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, it's funny. Funny she left that comment. Do we have any other comment here? There was a lot of Rumble comments. I just wasn't seeing them.
I can mention one frustrating thing that happens. Cashiers in Colombia do not know how to count change. And so there are lots of times in order to get bills back and not get a handful of pocket change, I'll hand them perhaps a 50,000 peso bill and a 500 peso coin, because that way they can give me just all bills back. They don't know how to do that. They immediately hand me the 500 peso coin back because they don't know how to count change. If their system doesn't allow them to, even if it does, sometimes when they could just put what I handed them into the computer and it would tell them how much change to give me, they don't get the concept. And
yeah, I live a different life. All my basic stuff I have delivered to the house, and because I get free delivery, and the money comes right out of my account, so they don't have to worry about change. And then if if I'm going to the store or something, you go to Super Inter or one of those, I go to Super Inter or the one over by the Centenario Mall. I forget the name of that one, or Lorales. Their cash registers tell them how much change to give back. So I don't go to places where that comes up at all. But if I lived where you live and all your stuff is the local businesses and little tiendas and stuff, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it could be frustrating. That plus they never have change. Now, the places I go, it's a non-issue. But when I was traveling a lot, back when I got a lot of contributions and I could afford and I would go travel, I always made sure that I had enough change in my pocket before I went out. And I certainly wouldn't carry hundreds. 50s was marginal because a good chance, whether it was a taxi or a little store or whatever, you hand them a 20 and it's like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah. Well, the ATMs give you hundreds or 50s, and I always make a point of using those at a big store so that I can get some smaller bills back, because you're absolutely right. We went to a little food stand outside our apartment building in Ibagué, and if sometimes we'd hand them a 20. They had to go to some other store to get change. I mean, it's absurd how little cash on hand some businesses have.
See, Renee says, hello from Ciudad Milagro, the Miracle City. And in the other chat, and I see we're over time, so we're going to have to wrap this up. But Senor Zell, Mr. Kali himself, rudeness is not only limited to gringos. Well, yeah. My wife's family is wealthy Colombian. Oh my God, they're the worst. All right, let me read the rest of this. They employ master verse service to lower educated Colombians. I get embarrassed going out with those that feel entitled. Yeah, I actually expected a little worse, but maybe they're watching this. So, but yeah, I hear you. But nothing is as bad as seeing wealthy in Ecuador. Oh my God, it's bad here, but in Ecuador, it's disgusting. A little game that I play with Sharik is that I'm Mr. Sophisticated, pinky up, Mr. Entitled. And at first I did get a rise out of her because it's just horrifying, people like that. And now it's like it's become a joke between us. So when I'm people watching, I can go into my little act and she gets it. My recommendation, don't move completely out of the USA until Doge finishes collecting cash from these worthless federal departments and Trump spreading the wealth. Yeah, okay. All right. We got a political comment through there, I guess.
Maybe Rob will get early retirement.
Last call for any comment that you have, and then we'll move on to next week. Do. Dan.
Me?
Yeah. Don't pull a Mitch McConnell on me.
No, well, I do have an observation on zoophilia. I don't really want to be known as the internet expert on zoophilia, but there is a department in the northern part of Colombia where they don't have a teen pregnancy problem because the boys are encouraged to have relationships with donkeys. So there's going to be a cultural shift there if that law goes into effect.
Ew. Well, the law applied to dogs.
Well, it just said zoophilia. So
well, that's yeah, but all the wording was about dogs. I got two more comments, and we'll move on. In Salento, where I live, Colombian hostile guests are reputed as problematic. That and Israelis. In Juca, Sharik told me Juca has contributed to this school. I don't know to what extent, but she told me. Sharik told me they will open the school in 2 weeks or sooner. Sounds good. Yeah, it's such a desperate thing that I guess what they're going to do is if it starts raining, they'll just put up umbrellas. The roof is the big thing. They really need a toilet, but these are country people, and if they have to, they'll go out in the plantain field and use that as a toilet until they get the thing fixed. Lunch. It would be nice if they have a kitchen, but they can start a little fire outside and cook over. I mean, very rustic, but they want this to be done right. But if the thing is at least safe in regards to where the walls won't cave in and the ceiling won't drop on them, which is why he's up pulling some of the stuff off. They need to get this school going. A whole new meeting to get whole new meeting to getting some ass. I hesitate even saying that. Plus the donkey. P.S. The donkey comment is the one that I no longer see in the comments. Really? Well, then how do you know? Oh, you heard him.
He was gonna beat me to the punch.
Yeah. All right. We're going to end it there. Dan, thanks for coming in. Everybody else, thank you for being there. I don't see live contributions like I did before. So if you contributed to the channel, thank you very much. It's certainly appreciated. And let's see. We'll do the out music. See you next week.
Oh.